Class, let's get started on week 6. Week 6, we jump into legal structures and licenses and taxes, and your project 2 is due. For students, this is either a dreaded week or a favorite week. I definitely land in the category of favorite week. This is, to me, very exciting to study different legal structures and why we have them. I hope I can infuse you with some of my excitement if this is a subject that is not typically exciting to you. But it is essential to know and to understand. We will not be dispensing legal advice in this course necessarily. If you feel like you have a complex question, it's best to discuss that with an attorney in your area. But this should give you the basics to understand what your options are and how to establish a simple legal structure to get things started. Tons of businesses are started every day throughout the world, and they follow simple legal structures. The system is really built so that really in almost any country of the world, so that you can start a simple legally formed business without too much stress. And I hope that's what we're able to cover today in legal structure and in licenses and taxes. We'll jump into legal structure, and what we'll cover here is specific to the United States. If you're outside of the United States, what I have found is that there's a lot of similarities, but you will want to research the legal structure in your country. We will follow this link here, hg.org, and just talk through some of the basic legal structures that are available to you. There's a lot more resources here, and there's tons of resources online if you look for, if you'd like to research this further. The assignment will call for you to answer these questions in your location. Which legal structure would make the best, would be best for your business and why, and then how would you go about setting it up. So there's really 3 parts to this essay. But let me walk you through some of these legal structures and why they exist. If I click on this link here, hg.org, it's going to take me to this page, and it's going to give me a lot of information on this page. I'm going to point out some of the key points. We're going to go through just quick a sole proprietorship, a business partnership. We won't talk about CNS Corps. We will talk about limited liability companies, as those are very popular. But let's start with sole proprietorship. This is the simplest business legal structure. This is one person owning the business. They own all of it. They get the final say, the first say, the last say. And there's not a whole lot you need in most locales to set up a sole proprietorship. It can be done by simply launching the business. Sometimes a simple registration is necessary with your local government. The advantage to this is obvious. You get all the say in what happens in the business. The downside of this and the sole proprietorship is the legal risk. If someone sues the company, they have access to your personal assets, because the law would view a sole proprietor as having everything in the company. All of your personal assets are part of that company. And so there's not a lot of legal protection in the sole proprietorship, but there's a lot of control. So pros and cons to that. The business partnership is very similar to the sole proprietorship, except that 2 or more people have sole control of the business. This can be established by a simple document. Doesn't need to be ratified or notarized, but 2 parties that have signed an agreement can begin a partnership. So similar advantages to the sole proprietorship. You get all the say, the partners get all the say in the business, but again, there is that legal risk if someone attempts to recover assets or funds legally from the company, then the personal assets of those partners are at risk in that lawsuit, or could be at risk. It's not necessarily guaranteed, but it's more difficult to protect personal assets in that event. C and S corps have specific tax advantages. I'll leave you to research those. They're a little bit more complex to set up, but there are some advantages there. We just won't get into that in this class, in this presentation. Limited liability companies are very, very popular. Perhaps that and sole proprietorships are the most popular form of businesses for students in the class. What the limited liability company does is it allows you to to have control of the company. As it gets to a certain size, you do have to have a board that has say in that company. Excuse me. But what it does is it protects the personal assets of the business owner. And so when it says a limited liability company, that means someone suing that company knows that they can only recover what is owned by the company. And there's limited liability in that. They could not go after the personal possessions of the owner. That's the intent anyway behind the limited liability company. The downside is, as the company grows, the owner will have less and less control. And there have been, I think, many famous instances where the owner or founder of a company has eventually been ousted from their own company because the board saw fit to say, we don't like the way this person is leading the company, so we're going to remove him or her from that capacity. And so the limited liability company comes with that protection, but as the company grows, it can come with some risk. There's additional information on this site. I'd invite you to take a look at it. It doesn't touch on nonprofit companies very much. That is something you could certainly look into. Nonprofits come with a lot of regulation. There are obvious tax advantages, but to establish a nonprofit company and to maintain that nonprofit status takes a lot of time and effort. So I don't go a lot. We don't spend a lot of time in a nonprofit organization, but that is something you can pursue if it's of interest to you. So that is your overall legal structure, your brief primer in corporate law. Our second topic is licenses and taxes. This one is a little bit more straightforward. There's not a lot I can tell you because licenses and taxes are so specific to your individual locality. It depends on your town, your state, your province. All that can affect what licenses and taxes you have. So for this assignment, your job is to research that. You can go to your local government website. You can call your local government. Governments are incentivized to bring business into their area because that brings in higher tax revenue. And so most local governments are very friendly to small businesses and have information on this, or if you call and talk to someone, they're willing to give you the information. So for this assignment, you'll need to research which licenses and taxes will be required, and then in the Word document, explain if you need any licenses, explain how you came to that conclusion, provide references, typically URLs, explain any taxes that might apply. So that was a little bit more straightforward. Please note you'll need at least 125 words. And that will be it. So again, project 2 is due and you'll have your reflection. Please reach out if you've got any questions on these. I'd be happy to go into more detail. Thanks everyone.